Hey everyone, Ben Johnson here from Teacher Moolah tonight to go over some transition year considerations. First of all, what is a transition year? Well, it's a cool arrangement with Colorado Para that allows you to work 110 days a year without violating their rules, and so it just happens to be the school year works perfectly because it starts in August and it goes through December, so you don't break the 110-day rule, and then it goes from January to May, and again you don't break that 110-day rule. So the teacher during their first year of retirement can essentially work an entire school year and get paid not only their regular salary but also their pension. So it's not quite double pay, but it's like 175% of your pay, so pretty close. So the next question is, should you take it? Well, if you've already decided, it's a little too late. You have to make the decision about 16 months before you'll actually finish teaching. So if you went back to October of this school year, you would actually be making that decision to end after next school year, so you have to really plan ahead. Once you've made the decision, it's pretty finalized. If you made the decision, just be happy with it, because there's not much you can do to undo it easily. If you haven't yet made the decision, please do the math first. Financially, you may be better off not taking the transition year and just working another para year, especially considering you won't have any insurance. By the time you add your own insurance on, it may just make more sense to work another para year. So you need to look at your para table. I'll pull one up on the next slide. You can just Google Colorado para tables and find the one that matches the year that you started working for para. Or you can log into para and verify the table that matches your year that you started work. If you're not out of the green shaded areas and you're getting a reduced benefit, then you probably want to work just a regular para year. Or if you've got a big pay raise, you've got a big pay bump, remember you can get like an 8% pay raise, it might make sense just to work another para year to capture that raise. In my case, I'll make about $135,000 more by working another para year and just skipping the transition year. So I did that math, and in my case, probably doesn't make sense to do the transition year when I could just work another para year. Also, it might be psychologically easier for you to spend money that's coming out of a pension by working that other extra para year rather than working a transition year, investing that in the 401k, and then having the willpower to withdraw that. A lot of people just have trouble taking out of their savings. If it comes out of your pension, it just hits your paycheck. You have no choice. You can just spend it. Para can help you make some of these calculations. I can help you with some of these calculations. Carl Fish would be happy to help you. But do the math before you make the decision. Here's the para table I was talking about, and certainly if you end up in any of these green shaded boxes, that's where you're getting a reduced benefit. Probably makes a lot of sense just to work an extra para year to try to get out of that green shaded box, or again, if you've gotten a significant pay bump, just work another para year to capture that raise and skip out the transition year. So the sick leave payout for at least PSD, I think, is now $75 a day. I think you've had to have been working for like 10 to 15 years in order to qualify for that. Use your pay stub and look up the total sick leave hours that you've got, divide that by 8 to figure out the number of days, and then multiply that by 75, and that will give you your sick leave payout. It's going to get a lump sum payout that will happen right before your transition year starts, and it will actually be added onto your para contributions as an extra month payment. So it could bump up your highest average salary, and it will extend your service by 1 month. Remember, you won't get sick leave during your transition year. Your pay will just get docked instead, so keep that in mind as you decide. Insurance, at least in PSD, you're not going to get any insurance from the district during the transition year. You can use your spouse's plan, Paracare, the Colorado Marketplace, Cobra. I would get quotes on all of those, figure out which one is the least expensive, but whatever you do, don't skip out on your health insurance. Then you'll have to decide whether you're going to pick option 1, 2, or 3. Option 1 looks the most appealing because it's the highest percentage. Maybe you get to keep the full 75%. Problem with that is that if you die before your spouse will get nothing. And in fact, your spouse has to sign an agreement agreeing to that option 1 if you pick it. Option 2 is a little better. You get a smaller amount, like 3% less than you would have roughly, depending on your spouse's age. So it might be 75 minus 3, so you might get 72% of your highest average salary. But then if you die before your spouse will continue to get half of the monthly pension payout. So better than nothing, but if that's all your spouse has, that might not be enough to make ends meet. And then option 3 is the one that I normally recommend to people. That's going to pay your spouse out or yourself until you both die. Now it gets reduced even further. In my case, it's about 6%. So if I was going to get 75, it would be minus 6. So I would be getting about 69% of my highest average salary. You can log into your Para account and it will show you those 3 options and the numbers. And you just multiply it by time to figure out, by 12 to figure out the yearly pay. Or you can call Para and have them give you that number. Now that doesn't have to be your spouse. It can actually be anyone you pick, a child, maybe a special needs child. My understanding is that you can pick anybody you want. The amount that gets reduced is based off of your age and their age and the life expectancy. So I suspect if you chose a child, it would be reduced quite a bit more than, say, that 6%. So why do I recommend option 3? I can give you lots of stories, but the one that is nearest and dearest to me is my grandfather worked for the state of Colorado all of his life. When he had the chance to pick, my grandmother had lupus. He was certain that he would outlive her. He picked option 1. He ended up dying much sooner than she did. She lived for another 25 years and had none of his pension, and so her kids had to take care of her. So I don't tell you that to scare you, but just that's the reality. And you can look into life insurance, but it's going to be much more expensive by the time you get to this age where you're able to claim your Para benefits. Know that if you're expecting Social Security because of something called the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset, that's going to get reduced significantly. And so it might be reduced by $498 a month, or half of what you would be getting paid in your pension, whatever is the lesser of those numbers. So your Social Security could take a pretty big hit. And there's a table that you can look up these numbers, or you can just call the Social Security office and find that out. And then in terms of the spouse or survivor benefits of your Social Security payout, their benefits could get completely wiped out. So call Social Security office and get those numbers. And the theory is that while you're working for the Para job, you weren't paying into Social Security. And so the theory is that the government doesn't want to give you double benefits if you weren't paying into Social Security the whole time. I don't like it, but that's the way it is. Income taxes during your transition year, just know that you're going to get almost double salary, or like 175% of your salary. Not quite double, but close. It's probably going to bump you up into another marginal tax bracket, and so all that extra pay, you're going to be forking over 22 to 24% of it to Uncle Sam. Won't ever go into your pocket, which is kind of a bummer. That's the whole point of doing this transition, right? So what I would tell you to do is to try to live off of your pension during that transition year, and then the salary that you're getting paid, sign up for the 401k and the 457. And if you're over 50, you can actually put $27,000 into each of those accounts. So you can defer $54,000 of your salary during that transition year and keep your tax bracket reasonable so that you're not forking over all that money to Uncle Sam. And then when you're in retirement, hopefully then you can pull that money out more slowly and try to keep yourself in a lowish tax bracket, or at least not pay as much taxes on that as you would by taking it all at once during your transition year. Your monthly benefit is, for most people, going to far outweigh taking the lump sum payout. So if you're thinking about the lump sum payout, I would get some second opinions from Carl Fish and this group at bogleheads.org. Probably doesn't make sense for most people to do that lump sum payout. You're going to probably be much better off taking that guaranteed lifetime payout. So if you get to working with an advisor that's trying to talk you into doing a lump sum payout so that they can invest it, and ultimately they're going to earn money from you in terms of the assets under management fee, I would run away from that advisor as fast as you can, because they've not got your best interest in mind. A cost of living adjustment will occur 3 years after you're into retirement. That could be anywhere between 0.5% and 2%. It all depends on how PARA is doing, and also the consumer price index of inflation. Right now it was paying right around 1%, so not great, but better than nothing. Hopefully that will go up. It'll all depend on how well PARA is funded and the consumer price index. Know that your pension is taxed just as ordinary income, and so just be prepared to have those taxes taken out of your pension check each month during retirement. So the 401k or the 457 in retirement, should you keep them there? Should you roll them over? Well, if you need access to those, like you need access to the 401k or the 457 before 59.5, go ahead and leave them put where they're at, whether it's in PARA or in Power, and you can withdraw those before 59.5 without incurring a penalty. On the 401k, as long as you retired after age 55, you can withdraw because of the rule of 55. And then the 457, you can withdraw without a penalty as soon as you separate from your employer. So don't roll those over if you still need them, if you need to access them before 59.5, because once you roll them over, they're more or less stuck until 59.5. Once you don't need them there any longer, you might look at another brokerage where the fees might be slightly lower, so you could consider rolling them over to a place like Vanguard, Fidelity, Charles Schwab. Those would be probably the only 3 places that I would use because they're low fees. Know that if you turn these funds over to a financial advisor, they're going to charge you 1 to 3% to manage that money. And so if you and your spouse have saved up about $1 million, the advisor is going to be taking $10,000 of that per year to manage that. In my mind, that's a lot of money. And just to give you an example, instead of being able to spend $40,000 a year out of that nest egg, because you're paying them $10,000 now, you're only going to be able to spend $30,000, and that's a significant chunk of money. And that's all based on this safe 4% rule, where you can draw down 4% without running out of money. Normally you could do $40,000 out of $1 million, but by the time you pay your advisor, you'll only be able to spend $30,000. So instead you might consider working with Vanguard Personal Advisory Services. They're certified advisors. They charge only 0.3% per year, so they're only going to be charging you $3,000 per year instead of $10,000. Or you can use an hourly flat fee CFP instead. They may charge you a couple $1,000s to set up a plan that will hopefully work for a long time. And ultimately that will be a lot cheaper than having an advisor constantly taking that 1% assets under management fee. And we can help you get you in touch with a licensed CFP. Alright, I think that's it. Thanks for watching.